Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the third series of Panda Piano Course. Panda Piano Corner, our third series is gonna discussing about piano technique, and this topic gonna be delivered by Wilson Casallas. He is a Colombian concert pianist, and without further ado, so please welcome and give a big applause for Wilson Casallas Palomo.
Thank you very much. How's everyone going?
Great,
How's
great.
everyone doing? So my name is Wilson Casallas. I'm gonna do a short introduction about myself. Let me see. So basically, I'm studying piano since I was a child. I think I started to practice music when I was like 6, 8 years old. I did my studies here in the National University of Colombia. Then I did another master degree. After that, I met Edy in China. We studied together there. Thank you very much, Edy, for the invitation. I have some recognitions and achievements here in Colombia, and also international competitions. Okay, guys. So that's about me. Now let's read this. Someone want to read it, please?
Anyone would like to read?
Yes, or you can do it, Edy.
All right. The musician Pablo Casals, who performed at the UN recently, is 81. He agreed to have Robert Snyder make a movie short, A Day in the Life of Pablo Casals. Snyder asked Casals, the world's famous cellist, why he continues to practice 4 and 5 hours a day. Casals answered, because I think I'm making progress.
Wow, that's really amazing. You know, Pablo Casals was the most famous cellist at that moment. He was 81 years old, and he still practiced 4 and 5 hours a day. And it's really nice his answer, you know, because I think I am making progress. And when I think about that, I think all we have to practice a lot. If the Moshalists say that, for sure, all we have to practice more. And also, I think that nobody has the completely true about what is music and also what is piano technique. So what we are gonna do here is just share our points of view, or we can share our knowledge. So please be free to speak here and share your knowledge with all us, okay? So we're gonna start with what is piano technique. So it's gonna be divided in these 2 points, what is it and the dynamics also, okay? So let's start with what is piano technique. So first, I search what is technique. In Google, it says it's a way of carrying out a particular task, especially the execution or a performance of an artistic work or a scientific procedure. So it means that is the way or is the method that we do something, or the method that we do for get something or to achieve a specific objective. I like this definition. But now I'm gonna ask you guys, what do you think about piano technique? What is piano technique? I want you to participate, guys. So please open your microphone and tell me, what do you think about, or what do you understand for piano technique?
Raise your hand, guys, if you'd like to answer the question.
Yusuf, want to answer?
Okay,
Sure.
please welcome.
Open.
I have my own way of saying about the piano technique. I say that the piano technique is a grammar of music.
I like that. I never heard that before. The grammar of the piano music. Okay.
Grammar of piano.
That's great. Why do you think that?
Because that is giving us the idea of how to deliver the language. Because music, if we are having a piano in technique, is also to try to deliver language. So in the language, technique, it's basically is talking about a way of playing. Way of playing is definitely in the language we are trying to measure it into the grammar. Then I call it that's the grammar of language.
Okay, I
Grammar
love
of
it.
language.
I love the definition. Thank you very much, Joseph.
Pretty
Someone
good.
else?
Anyone would like to?
Two more, please. Two more.
Yes. Don't worry about your answer. Just give your
Yeah,
argument.
whatever is okay. Everyone can share its opinion, okay? Or you can choose one, Edy.
I think I'd like to ask our previous wonderful speaker, Louis. Mr. Louis, are you ready? Are you there?
Absolutely.
Can you speak for a little?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Hello, Professor Luis.
Hello.
All right.
Saludos desde España.
Saludos también desde Colombia. Professor Luis, what do you understand for piano technique?
Well, it's difficult to say. I would say one idea. This is
Yeah.
like going to gym. I mean, for practicing, okay, you say about practicing a lot. So for practicing, we need some exercises or some ideas for practice. I mean, when you practice, you should think how you move your fingers, how you move your hand, how you move your body. I mean, like exercise, no? If you want to do a good exercise, you must be careful some ideas or some exercises, and then you can be sure your practicing is good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So you talk about the mechanical and all the ideas that you need to have in your mind to get the exercises right, correct?
Yeah, for the moment, yeah.
For the moment, perfect. Thank you very much, Professor Luis.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Next one more, please.
Anyone? Let's
A student, please. I want to hear a student.
Welcome to give your answer. Any students here or teacher or music lovers probably?
Wow. Don't be shy, guys. Come on. What do you understand for piano technique?
Hi, everyone here. Anyone like to open the mic? Just feel free to open and answer question. Stephanie, Stefania, Oi, and then Catherine, and then who else? Yeah.
Nobody? Okay, it's okay. No worries.
Yeah,
So
that's all mentioned.
Let's continue. So I really love the two definitions that the professors gave me. I'm gonna share with you another two definitions that I found in some books and internet. Okay, so the first one is by Albert Franz. He's also a pianist, and he said piano technique is the ability to get the right sound at the right time out of the piano. It is the ability to realize music, how we interact with our instrument. It is the ability to say what we want to say, to speak through music. And I love that. I really love this definition because it is talking at the end about the objective. You know, it says it's the ability to say what we want to say. At the end, we are the artists and we want to say something to the audience. It says to speak through music. And I think that's very difficult to find nowadays. And I love that definition. Now let's take a look to the other definition. This is by Luca Chiantore in his book, History of the Piano Technique. He says, mechanic concerns the physiological aspects of execution and the assimilation of different movements. And you know, at the beginning, I thought piano technique is that. When I was studying piano in the Conservatory of Music, I always you always hear this word piano technique, you know, and I one day I say, well, what is that? And I start to realize, I say, okay, it's the movements that I do to get to achieve the music, you know, is all the gestures that I do with my body to do the music. But Luca Cantore says that's just the mechanic part, and that's really nice. I never thought about that, and that's right. It's just the movements that I'm doing and thinking how to resolve this difficult passage of music. But he says that's just mechanic. It's not all the technique. He says while technique relates these same movements to the various aesthetic and stylistic demands. And I also love that, you know, because it's not that you just sit on the piano, you start to practice, you start to move, resolve all the passages so you can play it a tempo without any mistakes. You are playing all the notes, everything seems natural, but also you are applying something else, and it's the knowledge of the aesthetic and stylistic demands of that period of time. You know that we have Baroque music, classical music, Romantic music, 20th century music. So that's a different point of view, yeah, or a different view that the world had in that moment. So we have to focus on that also when we are playing piano. It's not just play the notes. We also have to know the, you know, all what is around of that piece or the composer or that period of time. So that's also part of the piano technique. So after read these two definitions of piano technique, this is my definition of piano technique. I love the use of definition because he says it's the grammar, and he talk about the language. And that's really important because at the end, that's what we want to get in the piano technique, your own speech. So I say the first part of the piano technique is the mechanic, is the movements, all the gestures that we do with our body to get the notes right, the tempo right. That's perfect. So we can play it without any problem. The second point of piano technique that I think is the context. And I mean the style and the aesthetic rules. For example, if you're gonna play Mozart, you're not gonna play it with a lot of pedal, isn't it? Is not according to the rules or the aesthetic, or not even the instrument didn't have a pedal at that time. So all that affects our interpretation and also how we play the piano. So that's very important. And the third point is your own speech. What Joseph say, the language. He say, Albert Franz also say that is speak through the music. So it means that there should be a seal of you in the piece that you are playing, you know? And that's really important because we don't want to sound like machines, you know? To sound like machines, there are machines. We are not machines, we are people, we're human. And that's part of the art. Every time we think about art, it's related to the human being, okay? So that's really important, your own speech, the color, how you do the phrases, and that's the end of the piano technique, you know? But the piano technique, I think, composed these three parts. The mechanic part, to resolve all the notes, the context, to know about the music that you are playing and all the rules, and about the period, about the composer, and at the end, your own speech, how you play, this is different, I want to stress this part, I want to change the color in this part of the music, okay? I think that's piano technique for me. So someone has a comment about that, or we continue? Nobody, okay, so let's continue.
That's great insight, man. That's cool.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so let's continue. I'm gonna put an example of what we're talking here. So this is the harpsichord that Bach uses to compose his music. That's in Hamburg. And we're gonna hear the same work, yes, the same piece, Chromatic Fantasie D minor by Bach, in two versions, okay? So this is the first version. Let's hear it. Please do like this if you hear the audio, okay? Hear this part, please. Okay, I think it's enough. So, what do you think about this piece in this instrument? Let's remember that this is the harpsichord. They are trying to simulate how it sounds in that period of time. At that moment, we don't have the piano that we know now. It's not a modern piano. There was not even the pianoforte. So, what do you think about this piece? For example, there are dynamics there. Do you hear dynamics?
Exactly, no.
No dynamics, that's correct, because that instrument basically is impossible to create dynamics, correct? Because how it works like with a plectrum. I have one here. So basically something like this. And this is what touch the string and create the sound. It's not the piano that we know that it works with a hammer and hit the string. Now, let's hear the next piece, okay? The next version. So this is Glenn Gould. So you can hear how he stressed one note in the left hand. You see? He's decreasing the sound. This is another kind of phrase. Now he's using pedaling back. He's gonna change the color. There. Wow, he changed the color there again. All right, so I think it's enough. So now we can hear a lot of differences, isn't it? I mean, now we're hearing a string piano, a modern piano, and we can see that he's doing a lot of things different from the other version. Of course, because first he has another instrument. Yes, he's doing crescendos, he's doing decrescendos, he's even using another articulations like staccato and portato. He used the pedals in all the chords part, you know, and he changed a lot of times the colors. Even he do some rubatos there. So the version is absolutely different, isn't it? When you hear the two versions, is absolutely different. I think if I don't put the name of Fugue Fantasy D minor back, maybe I will thought this is not the same piece. I would thought that. You know, but what I want to say with these two videos is that, let me see, is that he is using a wide range of the piano possibilities, you know. Why? Because he has the piano. Bach didn't have a piano, so he couldn't create this kind of music or use this range of possibilities that the piano provides us, you know. Now, if we are very strict, someone is gonna say, he's using pedal, you know, is not according to that period of time, or, you know, he's doing different slur, different phrases with different really weird articulations. He's using even sforzatos. That's like something crazy for people who think in the Baroque music, and they are very strict with that. But at the end, he's doing his own version of this piece, isn't it? And that's what piano technique is all about. Because that piece, nobody played like him. You know, there are a lot of versions, but nobody played that piece like Glenn Gould. And nobody played that piece like, what is his name? Let's say Richter. You know, everyone has his own version, you know, and they are trying to fix all the wide range that the piano give us into this period of time, the context that we talk about, you know. But because we have the context, it doesn't mean that we are not gonna use all the range that the piano possibilities give us, okay? That's very interesting. And when I think in Glenn Gould, I think who else is so famous for play the music by Bach than Glenn Gould? I think he's the most famous. You know, he dedicated all his life to play the music by Bach. So even if musicologists go and talk with him and say, you know, you are doing these things that are not very according to the epoch or the period of time, well, you know, he's the artist, and I spent all my life playing Bach. I think he knows what he's doing, you know. So let's continue. That's really important. So what I want to stress this part about our own speech, because if we don't speak through the music, or if at the end we are just playing notes without put a seal of us in the music, we're gonna be like machines. So machines, there are a lot. Look. See, that's a machine. There is not a human factor there. So even if it sounds good, I like how it sounds. There's something missing there, and it's the human part, you know. So that's why it's important not become machines, nothing just about the mechanic parts or the movements or the context, but also about what we want to say to the audience with our soul. Okay, let's continue. I'm gonna put an example of that, because, for example, if you create a robot, you know, I know the robot can do a paint, you know, but can you ask the robot what he thought or what he feel when he did that paint? He does not has, I mean, there's no answer, you know, and that's no art. Art is the human part involved in that work. I'm gonna share a video. It's really short. This is a famous pianist. He met with Rachmaninoff, and I love that video because they are thinking about one piece by Rachmaninoff, one prelude, and at the end they connect with the idea of the piece. You know, Rachmaninoff is the composer, so of course he knows what he wants to say through the piece, but the performer also gets what Rachmaninoff wants to say through the piece, and that's art.
So happened on my first visit to America, Rachmaninoff came to the concert, and he was very gracious and complimentary, and said particularly, I thank you for playing my B minor prelude. So I said, it happens to be my favorite one. And he said, well, it's also my favorite one. And that created a link of friendship. I said, did you have a program when you composed the B minor prelude? He said, yes.
Okay, so for you to understand, guys, did you have a program when you compose this piece? A program is something that you inspired to compose a piece, okay? That's how they call it, a program. Could be a picture, could be a person, could be a story, whatever, okay? So Rachmaninoff said, yes, I have something I compose about this piece.
So I happened on
sorry.
America, my favorite one. And he said, well, it's also my favorite one. And that created a link of friendship. I said, did you have a program when you composed the B minor prelude? He said, yes, his bass voice. I said, good, I won the first round. I said, I know your idea is not mine, but I know that mine is correct. He said, all right, you tell me yours, and I'll tell you mine. And we haggled for a while, eventually. I said, well, mine is a long story. He said, if yours is a long story, it cannot be anything like mine, because mine can be answered with one word. So despondently, I sat down in a chair and I said, well, to me, it suggests the return, whereupon the long arm shot out. Stop! So I said, why, what have I done? I said, that's what it is. It's the return. It was an exile, and that's what Rachmaninoff was.
Wow, really nice. So basically, is that, you see, he asked, do you have a program for this piece? Or Rachmaninoff said yes. So they start talking and say, I'm gonna share what I think about your piece. I know maybe it's not your idea, but it's mine. And understand, and he says like it's a long story. It's about the return, and Rachmaninoff say, "Stop, that's it. I composed this piece thinking about the return." Because he was not in his country, Rachmaninoff. But you can see how two humans do a connection with a piece, you know, with this work. They thought the same when they play it or when he composed it. That's art. At the end, we are talking through the music, you know, that's the most important. It's not just the music, there's something else, there's soul inside of it. Okay. And now I want to share this also.
You see what I mean? This makes it alive. This makes it a song. One must play really what one feels with all one's heart. One has a real contact with the music. You must never touch any piece of music which is not yours, which doesn't talk to you. You must have a direct contact of love with the composer, with his work. One must be born with talent. That is the most important thing. You must be born with talent, and then you can only develop it, but there's nothing to learn. You can't learn talent. I get the sonority from somewhere, mostly from my heart. I use the pedal. I try to sing it out. I have it there, but how I do it, I really couldn't tell you. That's impossible. Well, you know, I composed like every musical boy. I mean, I had talent for music, so I was composing innocently. I wrote a sketch for a concerto. Some sonata, I remember, then some songs, love songs, you know, which I showed off to some charming ladies and so on. But when I became 16, 15, like that, I discovered suddenly that I didn't have the right.
So I wanted to share the first part of that video. You can see how Rubinstein, which was one of the greatest pianists of 20th century, talk about music. You know, he's not talking about notes. He's not talking about how to play that. He's talking about something inside of the music. You see, when he plays this nocturne by Chopin, he says he's with the sigh, you know, he's trying to express. He cannot express it with words, but with his movements. And he say, how I create that sound. You see, at the end, we want to create a sound. That's the objective of the piano technique. We want to create that. How I do it? He say, I don't have idea. I just try to use the pedal and make a movement, but how I create it, I don't know how I do it. And that's why it's really important to think also in that, because if we want to make it our personal piece, he says also, never play a piece that don't touch you or don't speak to you, because if the piece doesn't speak to me, I also cannot speak through the piece to the audience. So it's not gonna be art there, you know, and that's important. Okay, so to resume, that's what I wanted to share about piano technique. That I think piano technique involves all these things about the mechanic that is really nice. All beginner has to focus on that, of course. All the students have to focus also in the context of the piece, the history of the composer, the period of time that the piece was composed. But please also remember to put yourself there. Try to say something to the audience that you feel with that music. Okay, guys, that's perfect. Someone has a comment about this? Please be free to comment. Nobody. Perfect. So we're gonna talk about dynamics. Let's talk about a little about the technique of the mechanic part really fast. It's not complicated. So dynamics, we know what is dynamics. Is the range of sound that we want to create to increase the volume or decrease the volume, okay? Now, I have this perspective about the dynamics. The first, how we play dynamics. A lot of people think that play dynamics is to put your body strong if you want to play forte, and they stress all their body to play forte. Or maybe when they are gonna play piano, it's like with fair to play, to touch the keyboard, you know? Some people think that. Some people think that piano is like put tension in your body, and play forte is do it with strength. And it's not about that. It's not about that, because the most important thing when we play the piano is to do it natural, you know? So how softly or loudly you play the piano is affected by the speed of your keystroke. It's all about speed. It's how fast you throw the weight of your body to create the sound in the keyboard, you know? So if you go slow, it's gonna sound piano. If you go faster, it's gonna sound louder. It's that. That's all. You don't have to put a stress in your body. You don't have to make weird movements in your body. You need to do it natural. So just play it fast or play it slow, you know? Now, we also want to avoid two common mistakes when we play dynamics. The first one is when we play soft, we don't want to play shallowly. You know, this is a common mistake in all the students. They say, I'm gonna play piano, so they don't reach the bottom of the key. They play until the middle. Then I'm gonna show you a video where the professor show it a little better, okay? And they don't reach the bottom of the key, and that's a big problem. That's a big problem. It creates a lot of insecurities, but it also creates a sound that is not like rounded, and it does not have projection. It means if you are in a big hall, the last person in the hall is not gonna hear that note, because you are not playing with consistency. You know, you're playing shallowly, and that's something that we want to avoid. That's very common in beginners, okay, guys? So be careful with that. The second mistake that we want to avoid when we play dynamics or when we play forte is to create a harsh sound, you know? It's not that the harsh sound is bad. No, it's not a bad sound, but we want to avoid it, okay? We want to avoid it because everyone doing natural and they do pa, pa, correct? And we want to avoid that. So the teacher is gonna also explain us how to create a sound that is not harsh, it's rounded, it's a little more sophisticated, okay? I'm gonna show that video to you guys.
The slow keystroke makes a soft sound. I'll do it up here so you can see, and I'll just pull my fingers back for a moment. Slow keystroke, soft sound. A fast keystroke will make a loud sound. Now we need to be careful with the loud sounds that we don't end up getting a harsh sound. So doing this, as I just did, was a very harsh sound. It sounds ugly. We don't really want to play like that. So when you play the very loud sounds, as well as thinking of striking the key down quickly, I want you to also think about pushing forward into the key. So pushing forward. We'll try this one. So let's listen to, remember this sound? Now let's listen to this sound, pushing forward.
The sound change.
Compared to, now pushing forward. So you never want to pull back on those loud sounds. In the soft sounds, you have to be careful that even though you're going down slowly, you need to go down to the bottom of the key. right down to the key bed. So not like this, if you look very closely. This is only going about halfway down. If I push again, I can still go further. I need to get, so I'll show you that one more time. This is only about halfway down. I push again, I go further. Basically, we need to get down so that we can get a rich, soft sound. This is a very shallow sound. Let's aim for a richer, soft sound.
Perfect. Okay, so she's showing you guys how we have to play. So she say it's also everything is about the speed of your keystroke. It's nothing related to your body. You can see how relaxed she is. You can see how natural she's playing. She's not doing any weird movement to create the dynamics. She's just dropping the key faster or slower. And remember about these two mistakes, common mistakes: play shallowly without reach the bottom of the key, or just create a harsh sound. We can make a movement with our hands. She call it push forward, or move your wrist up to create a better sound. Okay. Now I want to put you to consider this. She say we don't want to create this harsh sound because it's a bad sound. Well, I don't think it's bad. You know, nowadays nothing in music is bad. So when it is said that the sound created by the fourth is ugly, it's not really true. Maybe that sound is not what we are looking for in a specific period of time. It's Baroque, classical, romantic, about the context, what we talk about. But it does not mean that it is bad. On the contrary, since the 20th century, all sounds possibilities give rise to new artistic creations. And that's really important because we as professors, we always say like, that's bad, and it doesn't mean really that's bad. It's okay in the class to say that because we want the student to understand what we want he to do. But don't let that idea on our minds, okay? The harsh sound is also necessary. For example, okay, so the first song he do is a harsh sound, and he needs to do it because the piece is about that, you know. Is Bartok, Bela Bartok. This is the first piece of Out of Doors, and you have to create it sound. If you create a beautiful sound like that, moving your arm and creating this rounded sound, well, the piece is not gonna be the same, or at least you are not understanding what the piece is about. So the harsh sound is also possible. Is good sound. Is another kind of sound that we can use for another artistic pieces. Okay, guys, that's just for you to consider. Now, in my experience, when we play in a superficial way, it means not reaching the bottom of the key, it generates insecurities because our hand was not muscularly trained. Therefore, in a competition, or exam, or performance, there is a great possibility of making mistakes. That happens to me a lot when I was a beginner. So, you know, when I was trying to play piano, I always like stress my body, put tension, and try to play shallowly, and I never reached the bottom of the key. So that's a problem because muscularly, the hand was not trained enough. And when we want to play in a performance or in public or on exam, whatever, we want to be sure, you know, every time that we sit on the bench and we're gonna give a performance, we want to be sure. So we want to have all the notes learned. by memory, so we want to say every note, or maybe we want to have the photography memory. Maybe we want to sing it. Maybe we want to help us with the rhythm. But the muscular memory is also important, because when we are in stress, every time that we perform, we are in a stress situation, and sometimes the mind doesn't work. So what is gonna save us at that moment is the muscular memory. That's why it's important. And after I fix that problem, I resolve a lot of insecurities in the scenario, you know, guys, and I play much better. And there's less possibility to make mistakes. Okay, we don't have much time, so I just wanted to show some videos of how we play forte, so just a fragment, okay, guys? You see, everything is a speed. He throw the hand to create this big sound, but he's not suffering. He's not doing any weird movement with his body. Maybe just his emotion when he plays the piece, but not for the technique part. You see, he throw the hand. Perfect. And now the piano part. Let's see how he played to get the piano sound. Everything is close to the keyboard. The keystroke is very slow, you know, but it's also natural. He's not doing any weird movement or putting tension in his body to get that sound. The most important thing that we want when we play piano is to be natural. Every movement needs to be natural. When we do it natural, the body instantly is gonna accommodate to create the sound that we want in our minds. Okay, guys? Now, so dynamic is related to the drop speed. That's easy. It's easy to create it, okay? All sounds are good. Learn how to create all the sounds so that you can choose the one you want in the piece that you want. Practice playing the lovely parts, pushing forward or moving your wrist up so you can create a sound rounded and not harsh at the beginning. And always reach the bottom of the key if you're playing fast passages, piano passages. That's really important. Okay, guys? Now, conclusions. Some advice that I want to give you if you are a student. If you feel any pain or discomfort in your hands or any part of your body while practicing piano, please stop immediately. It means that you are not doing it naturally, and that's why you are creating all these problems in your body, and it's very important to stop. We want to fix that because even the most famous pianists has problems with their bodies because they don't focus on that. So we have to focus on that. Make it a habit to always think about tension while you're practicing piano. You know, try to measure your tension and rate it from 1 to 10. So you can say, you know, this part I'm feeling tension like 7, and so you can see when you have to check out your body and create another movements so you can rate it lower, okay, your tension level. Now, trust your body and hands. If you do it naturally, they often know the most natural way to play the piano, better than your brain does. Experiment with different positions to allow your hands to decide what is most comfortable and most efficient. And the last, please trust your piano teacher and try everything they suggest. Remember that they have a highly developed perspective on piano technique, and you can always raise questions and concerns if you are still having technical problems after trying their suggestions. So even please follow the instructions of your teachers. If you still have problems, ask again to your teacher so he can try different things to make you feel better when you play the piano, guys. Okay, so that's all for this presentation. I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Does someone have a question or a comment? Please be free to do it.
Wow, give applause, guys.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, that's the end of the